next part of our play is a tribute to the legendary William Shakespeare, the renowned poet, playwright, and actor.
Aye, 'tis true indeed. William Shakespeare is one of the most illustrious pillars of English literature. So brace thyself as we does transport thee to an age brimmed with sorrow, romance, and justice.
Good afternoon. We will present before you a tribute to William Shakespeare. He is not only responsible for inventing, popularizing, repurposing, and preserving thousands of common words in English language, but also secured his position in literature as the most popular dramatist of all times and remains a enigmatic figure of all times. A man plays different roles in the society: a child, lover, student, professional, retiree, and so on. These represents the different acts and scenes that make up a play of one's life. Shakespeare considered all human beings merely the actors who have an entrance and exit in this world.
The world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his life plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages.
At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms.
And then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail.
Unwillingly to school, and then the lover.
Sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow.
Young and full of life, he has dream in his eyes and a heart full of love.
It is my lady. Oh, it's my love. Oh, that she knew she were.
Oh, Romeo.
She speaks, yet says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. I am too bold. It's not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heavens are having some business to entreat her eyes, to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there? They in her head?
Oh, Romeo. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars. As daylight doth a lamp, her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream, so bright that the birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not, be but sworn, my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite.
Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once. Of all the wonders that I yet have heard, it seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come.
Here we come with the next phase, the transition from romance to responsibility. Let's see what stage 4 and 5 has to say about life.
And then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard. Jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel.
Seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice in fair round belly with good cape and lint.
With eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part.
And so is life, responsibility, persistence, hard work.
The following monologue is from Hamlet, which depicts a part of man's life where he faces sorrow and learns to deal with the same. Hamlet is in a state of shock and grief as he discovers that his father has been murdered. He thinks of whether he should face life's hardships head on or end them by dying.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance, to dream. There's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life? But that, the dread of something after death, thus conscience doth make cowards of us all.
The evil that men do lives after them, for the good is often interred with the bones. Every individual possesses a drop of mercy from the great merciful God. Now, let's witness what stage 6 and 7 has to say about life.
The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon.
With spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide.
For his shrunk shank and his big, manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes.
And the whispers in his ears, last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history.
Is second childishness and mere oblivion? Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
Mercy, a divine blessing, which benefits both the man who shows mercy and the man who receives it. An extract from the Merchant of Venice shows how a small act of mercy soothes the aching nerves and heals the wounded hearts.
Are you acquainted with the difference in opinion held in this court? I am thoroughly informed of this court, and I am informed who is the merchant here pleading for time, and who is the Jew who wants a pound of flesh. Is your name Shylock?
Shylock it is.
Do you follow the Venetian law?
Yes, I do.
So you confess the bond and that you want nothing other than a pound of flesh?
Hold, I'm begging for some time. I beg for time. Please be merciful, Jew. I will double the money due.
So you think that the Jew must be merciful?
Merciful? On what compulsion must I be merciful?
Mercy. Mercy soothes the aching nerves and heals the wounded hearts.
The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from the heavens upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis the mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings, the attribute to God himself, and earthly power doth then show likest gods when mercy seasons justice.
It is always important to know when something has reached its end. Ends are not bad things. They just mean that something else is about to begin. Farewell and adieu.
Good afternoon, parents. I'll be introducing all the narrators of the chorus. So I'm Smayan, Reet, Trisha, Tanvi, Ahan, Tara, raise your hand. Ridan, Pranavi, Myra, Anya, and Sara.
I'll be introducing the narrators of the monologue, Jivika, Ananya Arun, Ananya Manke, Adarsh, and Sara. The violinists are Gayatri and Ananya Fanse. And Irabat.
Parents, I would like to introduce the characters. I'm Aditya Yadav as Romeo. This is Veer Zavre as the judge. Aryaman as Shylock. Maulik as Bassanio and Irabati as Juliet. And lastly, Ashray as Hamlet. I would also like to thank Rumpa ma'am for giving us this opportunity and guiding us throughout this whole project. Thank you.